Good evening, I'd like to call to order the April 4th, 2018 Select Board meeting for Brookline. The time is 6:30. Okay, review any changes to the agenda. I'm going to add under this summary update comment about a dog I found. Later. That's the only thing I saw on here. Anything else? No? Okay, so now we will go to take a look to approve the minutes from March 21st, 2018 regular meeting. We'll start on page 1 of 5. Any changes on page 1? None. Go to page 2. I would like to make a suggestion that under summary reports, town clerk, since April 3rd was the date that the dog licenses were extended because we were open on the April 1st or 2nd, that we changed after April, change where it says after April 2nd to change it to say after April 3rd.
Okay.
Accurate.
And the third paragraph, Mr. Malabuli's tat.
Yeah, I got, that was where I found.
There was something else. Just look for something else.
Mr. Miller, what?
Tat. It should be that.
It's the fifth line from the bottom of that paragraph.
Tat. You don't like your tattoos.
It's a conflict, especially. It's something else, but I just gotta find it. It says the grant application requires at least 2 competitive quotes. There should be 2 competitive estimates.
Okay, 2 competitive estimates.
You don't have to have a quote.
Okay. Anything else on page 2? If not, we'll move to page 3.
Those are just extra.
Expense reimbursement.
Anything on page 3? If not, go to page 4.
Recycling costs, that last line, who have been monitoring the situation and?
And keeping the board updated. Okay, anything else on page 4? If not, page 5. On page 5, no?
Move to approve the minutes as amended.
I have a motion to move to approve the minutes as amended. Can I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Gwen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended from March 21st, 2018, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Very good. Minutes approved as amended. Okay. The scheduled members of the public, we have none. We have no unscheduled members of the public. Okay, moving right along. Summary Guy Tanza, Town Clerk Update Report. What's new in town? Tanza?
Just that we've registered 103 dogs. We probably have 20, 25 more to go. They will incur a late fee as of today. Sorry to do that, but the statutes.
$3?
$4. $4 for a neutered, $2 for a spayed, or $3 some. And then after May 1st, it will be a $50 plus the late fee plus the regular fee. So hopefully folks will be able to get their dogs done. I am open this Saturday. It's the first Saturday of the month, so even though you may have to pay a late fee, it beats paying a penalty of $50. So hope to see you Saturday.
Yesterday was crazy.
After when is $50?
May 1st.
Okay. When do we send out the letters to the delinquent people? Is that in May, after May 1st?
Yes, after.
The delinquent,
Yep.
that May 1st date. Okay.
And the final tax delinquency has been satisfied. The town is in a no delinquency for the 2nd year in a row for property taxes.
Many towns are jealous of us,
Yeah.
really. That's
So you
why
don't have a
they-
town clerk? We have a town clerk with an AR-15.
No. All right, I'm going to talk about the local emergency operations, the
Grenades.
LEOP.
That's on camera, I hope.
Yes, it was.
I gave you all a copy of the LEOP, and I spoke with Mike Wynot, who spoke with Mike Fontaine, and just a couple of changes. I just want to bring it to your attention that they made, and I'll send them out to you, but I would like to vote on this, approving this at the next meeting. The changes that will occur will be the phone number and email address of Todd Lawley. Okay. I also would like to remove from the LEOP the shelter, Sunny Lane Daycare Center as a shelter. We never finalized all the emergency lighting, the carbon monoxide detectors, the other things that are necessary for the shelter. We don't have excess water stored there. We don't have any bed cots with that. And it is one of the primary areas that we would evacuate people from, because if it's a flooding issue, it's right next, that building would flood.
Right.
So Mike Wynot and Fontaine both said it's probably not a good idea to have it as an evacuation center. We removing people rather than putting people in it. So we only did that because we became owners of it and we started to get things done. So that would be something, with your permission, I'm going to take out. You can change it at the next meeting if you wanted to modify it, but I am going to drop it. And that would be on page 2, it's listed, and also on the top of page 5. It's a tertiary, pre-designated operations center. And also on page 6, I'll remove it from that. But other than that, there aren't any other changes. The maps and the data stays the same. I understand that next year, the LEOP format will change just a lot, quite a bit. It'll be a different form and everything else will be, otherwise it's just staying the same except for those minor changes. Reminder, April 7th, rain or snow, there's going to be the Rabbit Run on Grassy Brook Road, which will be going from Newbrook down Grassy Brook Road. The short run will not go Hill Road, but I think the longer run will go over Hill Road. I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's where they went last time. But rain is supposed to snow Friday, right?
Yeah, 1 to 3 inches.
So.
I'll melt my heart.
Anyway, the other thing I wanted to add in here, I came home, what day was it? Guess it was Easter Sunday, and I'm driving up my driveway and a strange dog comes running down my driveway, which I immediately stopped my truck, opened the door, said, "You want to go for a ride?" Captured the dog, brought it home to up to the house and made some phone calls with the ID tag on it. Luckily, the dog was visiting somebody on Grassy Brook Road because I could hear somebody hollering for the dog. So the dog was quickly reunited. No fines or tickets were issued. The dog just ran out of the house and ran up my house, so that's it. We don't always ticket every dog, we try to get them home to their owners, if at all possible. All right, that's it for summary updates. Okay, new business, Sunny Lane Daycare punch list for minor repairs. I would like to just get Mark to start doing some of the things that need to be done for the hazard mitigation from our insurance brokers. Mark has a list, I'm just going to ask him to start working on it again. I don't know if you took, there he is, I didn't see you come in.
I just got it.
All right, so when the snow goes, there are some things on that list for Sunny Lane Daycare that the insurance people want us to do. So
Okay.
you have the list if you wanted to call me, or we could work out
Okay.
in a weekend time. And did you do the air conditioner?
I haven't done that yet. No, I came by today and the dumpster guy was there, and
Okay.
so I decided to wait till he was out of the way.
Okay, yeah, all right, so that,
He was having some mechanical issues. The wrecker came and got the truck, so.
oh, the dumpster got broke down in the...
Yeah.
Oh, the dumpster. All right. But I know she told about the air conditioner, she was concerned about that. All right, and then major repairs, again, we advertised last year.
Got that? You want to put it out to bid? But
I don't-
I haven't got a response back from Randy Levitt, to live in Vermont.
Well, last year, we asked for a completion date, we put out a request for proposal for Town of Brookline, I'll read it to you, really quick, so you guys can out. Town of Brookline is looking for bids to do carpentry repairs for the town-owned building known as Sunny Lane Daycare located at 624 Grassy Brook Road. Skilled workers are needed to repair, remove, and replace rotted wood found on the buildings, most specifically the soffits and eaves as necessary, as needed, installing metal venting to improve air circulation and preventing ice damming in the winter top priority. Bidders are requested to attend a pre-bid site visit on July 13th. Bruce was in charge at that time. The cost of materials should be factored into the bid as well as the removal of the debris. Please note that Sunny Lane Daycare will be in operation with children on the premise and the utmost care and safety considerations expected. Bids must be received in a sealed envelope, so on and so forth. And this is for July 19th. And copies of certificates of insurance or workman's comp and liability are required and should be submitted along with the bid. So do we want to put the same bid out earlier this year and try to get someone to get some of that work done? Or did you have? I know we talked about, we can hand deliver to a couple of people, that, if you wanted to, if you had somebody, but it's probably going to be close to $7,000, which is the policy amount, so put it out for bid.
Keep it up under that.
Well, and do we,
You guys all know all the work, I gave you all those pictures last year, remember?
Right, yeah.
You put all that,
Yeah.
the eaves and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense to put it out to bid and see what we get. I guess we also then have to determine what we can afford to spend on that with. I mean, we've been talking around it and we haven't yet done it of really figuring out what is our budget for that building.
Well, I had thought at a previous meeting, I'm not sure if it was before you came or not, that we would look at what was in the black from the previous year. And so we are, maybe Samara can tell us, I think we were in the black one year, $4 grand, and then we're in the black a little bit better now.
She said a
So
little over $5 grand a couple of months ago.
that's for this year, but
Yes.
we have money that we're not supposed to be making money on the building, we're supposed to be reinvesting the money
Right.
back in.
Right, and that's fine. I guess it's just that we don't know. I mean, we've talked about the water stuff, which
Right.
now
Oh, that's
it
something
doesn't
else.
seem, I mean, we have to have, it would be sensible for us to, I mean, anytime I've been here and we talked about like what our costs were, it was a little vague on when the insurance was due and exactly what that cost was. I mean, it may be that we can afford to spend $7,000.
Samara will be in this evening.
What if the bids we get are $10,000?
We don't
I mean, we have to know what we can
Yeah,
afford
we
to spend.
Tomorrow we'll be in later, we'll have her,
Maybe point out what we have.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't stop the fact that we should put it out to bid.
Right.
Well, no,
It
but
doesn't
you're right.
obligate us to take any of those
That's
bids if
right.
we then determine we can't afford that.
Right.
Or we have to decide, okay, we're only gonna do a portion of it now and, I mean, we won't know that until we get actual
Okay.
bids.
All right,
So,
We
yeah.
didn't get any on that.
Right.
it was late in the summer.
And maybe we'll
guess
do
it
better
won't be
if we
that
do it
bad
earlier.
because from what I see of the building and looking at it, there's not a lot of materials involved to replace those soffits. I've done it, and it's just not that bad. But labor's labor, and you don't know what they're gonna come up with.
Yeah.
So as far as building materials, I can pretty much testify that it won't be that expensive. I mean, even if they did all the eaves all pressure treated with one buys, it just isn't that pricey. Plus, did you put materials in there, Doc? You did
It says
give me a
cost of
copy.
materials should be factored into the bid as well as the removal of all debris.
But it's just like Bruce said, we've talked about this on and on and on and on. It's time we get something done. And even Dave said,
Oh, yeah, totally,
Talk
yeah.
about it.
Definitely.
We've
I
been
guess
moving
it's-
forward with this building really well.
The biggest issue I see with is that once you start ripping some things apart, you don't know what you're gonna,
That's true.
what you're
That's
gonna.
Because the
true.
building's old.
That's true. But
Yeah,
but the roof's in good shape, and it doesn't appear, I love that word.
Okay, no, I'm
It
just-
doesn't appear that there's any issues. on
Just
the
beware
edge
that it could be-
Of the roof.
I know, beware, yes.
But, you don't know. You really don't. Especially since the fact that they haven't had vents in those E's on the old.
there's been a lot of moisture up there, so.
Yeah, so we don't know. And the plywood all could be rotten underneath the roof. We don't know, but that goes back to what David's saying, is we got a budget, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't, we can choose not to accept the bid. Right now, we're only seeing that that boards need to be replaced around the building, the rod around the front of the building, of the old building, and maybe putting some ventilation, and then addressing that thing about the ice dam near the entrance to the door of the new addition.
Did we ever get the rails up? Did anybody ever do the
That was
rails?
supposed to be neat, but I couldn't get to it.
No,
Yeah.
those were things I was saying.
Oh, that's what Mark's gonna talk with Dottie about.
Yeah. So, and on this, what kind of date do we want if, with Samara, a pre-bid meeting? I guess that's important, so.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be out of
Yeah.
commission for a while.
I don't know, I know about this before, but I'm saying, they said I can't drive for 24 hours, but then I guess I can walk. If I can
That's
walk,
quite a walk.
if I can walk, I can talk. Then you're all in big trouble. And if I come up dead tomorrow afternoon,
Can
then
I,
you're all in
can I
good shape.
table this until we talk to Samara, when she's coming around 7:45 this evening? In an hour, she said, well, that's what, she's babysitting and she asked for some.
I'll still try to contact Randy Levitt, because I like the way we did it when we did my edition.
Yeah,
We did it, I got the materials. If I was short of some, just stick your fanny down to WW and pick up 10 more 2x10s. And it worked out really well because it kept costs down.
well, Dottie was saying that we'll put that out, but you can hand deliver some if you know some people that might be interested.
Yeah.
Because that is,
That's
Getting
what
it
she's
out
done
there.
as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I don't really feel like we need to have Samara's input on, before deciding that we're going to, what our timing of the pre-bid and all that stuff is gonna be. I mean, we can
decide that.
decide that,
All
and
right. All right, decide it for me.
I mean,
Bruce is available.
I'll be okay. You
Well, I don't want to be
days tomorrow, we're good to go.
Come up dead, we won't talk to you.
You want to look
He's
at,
back, the two of the three.
you want to look at a pre-bid meeting early in May?
I'm going till the 11th, from 27th to 11th, I'll take 2-week vacation. So, I
Of
would,
April.
yes,
To
so,
the 11th.
why,
Okay.
yeah, why don't you do, what's today's date? Today's
Today's
4th.
fourth.
Why don't you, when are you gonna put it in?
Well, I don't know.
That's what we're trying
Do it
to,
right away.
The sooner the
You want
better.
So wait.
it in a Saturday paper?
Sure.
So that, okay, so if it goes in the Saturday paper, if I can get it in Saturday's paper tomorrow morning, it will go in Saturday's
Make a
paper.
pre-bid bid next week or whatever.
When,
it'd have
When
to
do
be
you
on a
leave?
Saturday because you can't get in there when she's got school kids in there.
yeah, it has to be Saturday.
so it'd have to be on the 4th.
Right? Bruce? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't, well, we're gonna be in the outside. We're not gonna be on the inside.
Well, you still need to touch base with her because.
Of course.
it's-
Because there's kids playing, so.
Yeah, so if you did it the 14th,
All right, pre-bid meeting, April 14th.
that'll work. That's the pre-bid meeting, it's on the 14th.
Not what time did you want it? Last year you had
And then make it,
9 AM you had it, but
I don't care,
Let's do
doesn't
it.
matter.
9 AM,
And then-
7 AM? No.
And then answers by the 18th, which is our next meeting.
Pre-bid meeting, April 14th, and I'll advertise.
Bids in by April
18th.
18th at 6:30.
Is that really enough time for people to get the bids together?
Well, they
4
usually
days?
do it within a week, right?
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking 3 days.
Yeah, we're talking
Oh.
a short period of time.
That seems,
Yeah.
That's short.
that seems a little
Well-
quick for, necessarily for.
Yeah, you got a point.
All right, so have it, if they
May
do a
2nd?
pre-thing in April, yeah, then May 2nd.
Bids due May 2nd?
Yeah, I mean,
I won't be here. That's okay.
Well,
Well, May 2nd, aren't you gonna have that hearing with the Regional Commission?
That would not be
Okay.
during a select board meeting, it's either before, or I'm really confused about that.
oh, but you won't be here, so
That-
we don't want to open one.
Well, how about, we can do it on a weekday, because we're not going inside the building. As long as we touch bases with her. She's not gonna bitch
so
about
if you put the
sticking.
bid out Saturday
I
at
would think
7, then have them,
Why don't we do it
What
earlier?
if you did it on the 11th?
Yeah, and that
And then
gives
they get
them
some
a week.
week.
yeah.
That makes a lot
Pre-bid
more
meeting,
sense.
9 AM, April 11th. Use the contact. Put in tomorrow for Saturdays, that completion date. Bids would be due April 18th.
Yeah,
Bids are due April 18th,
Town.
6:30, town office, written bids. When is the completion date for the project? Before September 1st?
yeah.
Earlier.
August 1st?
That's my shit.
Okay. You understand August?
I don't want to give people the whole summer, they'll be
Yeah,
not,
that's true.
they'll be pushing snow away from
Until it's
us.
done. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point.
Oh, that's what?
August 1st, instead of completion date on a report.
And that's plenty, that's May, June, that's 90 days, more than that.
Yeah,
Okay. So pre-bid meeting, April 11th, 9 AM. Bruce would be the contact. Advertising, I'll put it in tomorrow, it'll be in Saturday's paper. Bids will be due April 18th at 6:30 at the select board meeting under the regular thing.
Now, does this say it will also be available on the website?
No, the pre-bid meeting can't be, you're gonna discuss it with hopefully the new vendors that show interest.
Oh,
And then from that point on, I guess, because I'm not sure what to put on the website because there's a lot of information that you have there. You know, your pre-bid meeting, you're gonna discuss what the parameters are, what you need.
yeah.
But
I don't know.
I think it was on the website last year.
Was it?
I'll check.
I think,
I think this.
yeah, and we had no response, that's right. We had no response, you're right,
It was too
yeah.
late in the season. All right, so that's what I will do.
I guess I'm trying to eliminate people calling the town office and saying, what has to be done? What do is that gonna be all that information in there?
It's a pre-bid meeting, so they come and take a look at the project if they're interested in.
It gives a general description, but then
Okay.
it says you have to attend the pre-bid meeting.
All bids will be opened at the select board, copies of certificates of insurance, workman's comp,
Georgia
liability.
11 and 18, okay.
Okay, so that's what I'll do
7 days. Okay.
on that. Okay, Sunny Lane, put punch list for, okay, that's, okay, major repairs. All right. Next one, discussion, Beck Engineering and the UV water system at Sunny Lane Daycare. So I got a phone call from Cindy, I want to say her name is Cindy Parks from the Water District. And she feels that the engineering company that we hired is learning about the system from what they're researching with us. According to the state, Cindy Parks of the state, that there's only 2 recorded other projects that they had worked on before. One is the Wardsboro one, which is, I thought was working well, but anyway, so she's been spinning her wheels and asking questions that the state feels shows a lack of knowledge on this. So I wrote, before I went away, I wrote to Jessica at Beck Engineering and I put a halt on any further progress of time spent on this. I have to call Vermont back up again because while in the mail, I noticed there was something from the Water
Yeah,
Bureau.
yes.
It's not the letter that Cindy Park said she was going to send, which, because we have a UV system, we don't need to have, we just need to design, as I said last time, and Cindy explained the design of the chlorination system is pretty straightforward, simple. And it just needs to be on paper and not put in. So she was gonna write to us and tell us what needs to be done on our, but we haven't gotten it, so I'm gonna give her a call and find out why I would be here today. So I have to talk to her and then talk to the, is that snow?
It is, or rain.
Rain.
All right.
No, it's a rain, it's a snow
I'm
shower.
sorry, I'm easily distracted by weather.
She's got
It's a snow shower.
More sludge.
All right, so
It's heavy rains.
that's something I'm a little upset or concerned about.
Dot, because we had that active system in there now working, did that make it easier for us?
Yes, we don't have to do what.
Yeah, it's all engineered and in place. Oh, don't do that.
A little bit of wind.
So it changes what our requirements
Oh,
are.
I know that, but did it make it easier for them to come up with that alternative plan because that system's already in there? If the system
Absolutely.
hadn't been there, it would have been more complicated to make that plan.
You would have to have installed it.
That's true too.
Now we're just having to design it. But the Beck Engineering, it does seem to be skipping a log. Something's missing there in that process that is not going. So I don't know if I need to talk to the town's attorney at some point because we did put a deposit down for $2,100. It was no more than $4,200 was going to be the contract for this engineering report. When I talked to the engineering company, she said, oh, it's much less than that because it's been, she hasn't gotten much done. So I'm sure we don't get taken for a ride, so I might have to contact the lawyer if through the state, Cindy at the state says that to do this, this, and this, I'll get some legal advice so that I'm not spending the town's money unnecessarily. Okay. Well, thank you.
Talk to Tammy Bates. The Warrensboro School, I think they did their septic system.
They did the water system. And, yeah, I'm a little, I don't know. All right, next is appoint the Brookline Meeting House Committee members. We did not appoint the Brookline Meeting House Committee because we thought we might be combining the Historical Society members with that, but I did get an email from Leanne saying at this point this year, while historic things are of our interest to them, that they just wanted to focus on some items with the church, so they would rather not be combined at this time. And so therefore I did not reach out to Cynthia Doug or Jack Green about that, but I will have to contact them, the other committees, to get them on the agenda. We were supposed to have several meetings, 1 or 2 meetings at least a year with an agenda and minutes. So I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Mark Bills, Leanne Parker, and Kerry Horn to the Brookline Meeting House Committee.
Second that?
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? You're on with that, okay?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, hearing none, all those in favor of appointing Mark Bills, Leanne Parker, and Kerry Horn to the Brookline Meeting House signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Who seconded? Was that you, Chris?
That was
David.
Well, I don't know, we need to.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all right, July. We're talking about July a lot today, which it was. That's snow going on. But Chris noticed that the July 4th, the first Wednesday of July is 4th of July, and I'd like to discuss and then reschedule that meeting to Tuesday, July 3rd. Make more sense. Is this something we don't have to do it tonight if people don't know their schedules, but.
We usually get a house full of company that weekend,
Yeah.
Gwen and I.
Well, the meeting is scheduled for July 4th.
Right. And I knew we weren't gonna have it 4th of July because of, the holiday. I don't know, I guess it's
I
up to
might
you
have
guys.
an issue with that just because
It's a holiday week.
possible that the Grafton fireworks are actually the night of the 3rd.
Do we
Yeah.
can't we just not, do we have to have 2 meetings in July? Can we just cancel that?
You can skip one if you want, that's
You
entirely.
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Can't we just say
It's like we
we're,
have so many months where we have 3 meetings, we can have 1 month where we have 1 meeting.
That works.
right,
Sure.
because everybody uses
Because
the
that whole
4th of
week is gonna
July.
be tough.
And they
with
have,
it being
you
in the
know,
middle of
like I
it.
said, we always have a house full, so it's,
Okay.
So just do the 11th.
and you gotta realize, we've not missed 1 meeting in years.
We'll make a motion to cancel the July 4th meeting.
All right, we have a
So how
motion.
would you,
You can always change it. If
Yeah.
something comes up.
Cancel the July 4th, 2018 meeting. And do we have a second?
second,
Seconded by Gwen. Any other discussion? I'll
It's a
answer the
very
discussion.
self-serving
If
second.
there is a need to have a second meeting, we will
Good.
establish it later on.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of canceling the July 4th, 2018 Select Board meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that meeting has been canceled.
good idea.
Way to plan ahead, Chris.
That's one thing I'm good at.
Well done.
All right, I have on here also, discuss the town grandeur bill H829. I think it was in the,
Yeah, but that's not gonna happen until July. If it's passed.
okay, that was my question. The grandeur by law had certain responsibilities like serving warrants and that, but they pulled out that weight, that,
If that piece of legislation is signed by the governor.
okay, so,
So right now, it still hasn't been signed yet.
Yeah, it looks like it was passed by the House and Senate, but not
not everybody.
by the governor.
But more than likely, it will be signed, I'm
So that
sure.
would just be when we do the town report, it may not be something we need to put in there next year. If we may not need to have a town grandeur in the future, so.
Or we have to appoint one. I thought that.
Well, you may not even have to appoint one if you feel it's not necessary, because they basically diminished most of the duties that the grand juror has because of modern times and law and, liability. So that's one of the reasons that's one
Are
of the...
you our grandeur?
Pardon me?
David Parker.
No, David Parker.
Hi Marie, how are you?
Hi, Marie.
I'm here to do some accounting work. Do you mind if I close the door?
No.
Nope,
It's not gonna bother you at all? For sure? Okay, thank you.
don't crunch the numbers too loud.
You can count one thing, they'll be accurate.
All right, so if we hear more about that, that was the grand jury. All right, current highways and roads. Mr. Bills, you're up. What's new?
Well, the roads are still holding up as far as ruts for mud season. They are a little bumpy. And I had the grader out once to try and break the ice off the first bridge on the Athens Road to get the water to drain. There was some pretty good potholes on the bridge. The ice has been removed and thawed, so I'll go out again and smooth that up as soon as our weather changes to better. I did make another phone call about the salt to find out a little bit more information from Cargill, and the same guy answers, and I told him, we hadn't received the last order of salt, wondered what the story was, and the only thing he told me was we'll have one there Friday, and we did get one Friday.
Okay.
So, I was a little nervous because we were, the weather predicted more snows and I wasn't sure if we'd have enough. So he brought a small load, pushed into our shed. Talked to Archie about it. He said if we don't use it all, that kind of new thing will take a load of salt and store it for us, and we'll get it back if need be.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was gonna say, if we're gonna be constructing the shed, we have to move the
Yeah.
salt out.
Yes, and Archie said some more, he talked with Samora. Samora has more information, but he tried to explain to me about the job of engineer overseeing the branded project of the salt sand shed. And it wasn't that Ron Bell, who engineered the design, couldn't do it. He felt it was more because it was through the state, the project needed to be allowed to bid for an engineer to oversee.
That's what Tamara's gonna talk to us about, what she found out.
You know, Ron could probably still bid on it and give us a price, but it has to be at least 3.
Right, and Samara will explain that there is a list of verified vendors, preferred vendors, if you want, that they had.
All right, so we'll wait and see what she has to do with that. As far as roads go, everything is just thawing out nicely. There's still plenty of snow on Putney Mountain. That one won't be open. The dates on the signs do say April 1st, as far as maintenance goes, but it's going to be another couple weeks on Putney Mountain. People are using it,
Are they?
same as Ellen Ware Road. If they can get through, they get through. They pursue
What's it
it.
like, muck?
The Ellen Ware Road I came through and they've left ruts, but it's firmed up
What
and
about Putney Mountain?
I didn't go to the top. I know the first hairpin turn is always in the shade, it's always glare ice.
Uh-huh.
It's not worth, it's closed. There's still a berm of snow, but the 4-wheel drive big rigs are going over it and using it. And I don't know if right now, that's about it for road talk. I don't have anything going on except scraping the roads as soon as I can get out on them with the grader. I did meet, I don't know if you'll be bringing this up later, I had informed the select board of a tree at the round schoolhouse. Is that something you'd rather talk about?
We can talk about it now because that was one of my questions around schoolhouse. We had a $500 donation and we
Yeah.
want to make sure that we don't lose it by,
Okay, all right, well.
that's all right with you all, that we talk about this? Sure.
Okay, I got the same guy who did our tree work last fall to come and look at the tree over the round schoolhouse. It's a double ash tree, large diameter, 2 trees coming out of the ground side by side, both leaning in 2 directions. One of them it leans over the roof of the schoolhouse, and after hearing talk about, the dampness in the inside the schoolhouse, I feel if the tree was removed, that it might help solve some of the dampness in the school. There's also like some moss growing on the wood shingles on the tree side. However, it is an ash tree, and there is the emerald ash borer has come to Vermont, and so it's a matter of time. And I met with Henry Carr of Carr Tree Service, had him come and look it over to give the town a review on the health of the tree. And he has a couple different things he can do. He could prune the tree leaning over the roof, treat it for ash borer. There's something he can do to deter the bug, I guess. Take some of the heavy load off the side toward the school. And it would, he said, it would probably buy 2 or 3 years time for the tree if it's something that people have a hard time removing. He can talk about pruning, and then I was gonna just ask him for a price to remove it, but then after hearing there's options, then I decided who makes the decision? Should the select board make the decision to prune or cut? Should we have Henry come to a meeting to talk to the board about it, have a site visit? While we were there, you know, because it's two trees growing out of the same ground, I have seen trees that eventually one will just tip over because the root system's all on one side of that tree. It doesn't have the back root supporting system. There's dead branches throughout it, fungus. Henry said was a disease that starts in the core of the tree and eventually kills off the tree slowly. So I didn't know if we should contact the Historical Society about it, or, you know, it's almost in the town right away, just remove the tree. There's the issue of, you know, is it the select board's decision, the Historical Society, the
Interesting point.
tree warden?
How much property does the town own around
Well,
the
that's,
building?
I had written that down to find out. I don't think it's much. At the same time we noticed this tree, there's like 4 other trees around the school, which also jeopardize the structure. There's a cherry tree up behind it that's looking really dead. The bark is coming off.
By the round schoolhouse?
Yeah, it's up on the bank, and so therefore, was hoping to find out where the property boundaries are to the round schoolhouse property. Because that one, if it did fall over, would also bump the structure of the round schoolhouse. On the left side, being that we were there, we took notice of, there's another set of smaller young maple trees that are rotted at the stump, and they jeopardize the shed part and the round schoolhouse. And then just over from it is another ash tree, which leans again toward, so there's like 5 trees
Five trees,
of
yeah.
question that, you know, I'd like a board or somebody to look at to help make the decision. You know,
Sounds like it's more than $500 though, too.
well, Henry said that a crane would have to do the work on the ash trees, the number 1 problem. And he said the crane is actually an easier job. The other ones he would do with a bucket truck, which is more time consuming and a little bit more costly. So the ash tree was something that he felt he could do with a crane, and the one behind it. So I didn't get prices from Henry, and thinking that I would invite him to talk to the board, and then my, I guess, number 1 question is who wants to be there to look at them, to help make the decisions? Would that be you as the select board? Would it be the Historical Society?
Select board.
Well, seems like first we need to figure out the property boundaries.
Yeah.
If the trees are on our own
We
property.
need to just figure out whether it's
Right.
just a town decision or whether there's some other
Did
landowner
he,
involved.
his opinion on the
Then-
big tree, was it worth saving? Because I hate to see a
Well,
such a mature tree.
He brought
be
that up
taken down.
because he knew there would be people that.
Oh, yeah, they're gonna be concerned.
Well,
So,
it's an ash.
Well, the only thing I can say about that is that if you look at the older pictures of the round schoolhouse, there wasn't a tree around it.
Right.
There was nothing, so those were the old days, and these have grown up, and I understand the cosmetic beauty of having that tree there, but if it's gonna jeopardize the integrity of the building.
Yeah,
It could fall at any time, like the
Yeah.
weathers that we have are a factor to think about. Because like I say, whenever you have 2 trees that grow out together, the roots aren't all the way around supporting balance. You've got just that one tree leaning his roots on each side, and then,
And like you said, it was just a temporary fix for 2 years. It's like,
yeah,
what good is that?
right?
All right, so what's the pleasure?
Okay.
I mean, my opinion is we should also then, well, I guess we have to establish
Property
the
line.
property stuff. I think it makes sense to evaluate all of those trees, as Mark suggests, as one. We should contact the Historical Society and get their input on it at least. I mean, I wouldn't.
I felt that that would be proper too,
Yeah.
being that they're in
Yeah.
charge of the building.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
then being the select board oversees them and
Right.
Doc,
Yeah?
asked the question, who would do it? I don't know this person, so I don't know. But I know years ago, behind my house, actually behind my wood furnace, the old pub pub, I had a pine tree this wide taken down, and it had to be at least 50, 60 feet tall. And I got a quote from Mayotte and Thomas Bloom, and Thomas Bloom beat him by $200-300. I think it cost me $600 to take that tree down. And what they did is they come in, and he gets up there in the tree and
Oh, yeah, Carr's the one who did the town, he done up at my house as well, too.
You know, I'm just saying we should get different folks. And Thomas Bloom is one person we might consider asking because this is something he really does and he's local and who knows, he might give us a good price. What they do is they'll climb up the tree, usually a light young guy like Chris or something, climb up the tree. With a small chainsaw, limit, and cut it, limit, cut it, all the way down, watch him do the whole thing, it's really slick. So
This would be me.
But if this is one that might require a crane because of its,
you don't know? I
it's
haven't seen
leaning
it.
over the building.
No, it's actually leaning, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's right over the schoolhouse.
But still, we should get different quotes.
And you would have to have somebody with lots of insurance to make sure,
Yeah,
nothing happens to the schoolhouse because it's irreplaceable.
yeah, that's true. But I'm just suggesting that we contact more than one person to get a different price after.
well, we don't know what, the question here is,
We don't know yet.
what are we looking to
Right, we gotta do
do?
that
One
first.
tree,
Yeah,
five
I mean,
trees?
down the road if we decide to do that.
I think that's a very good point.
All right, so
So is there
How
a
do we
deed on the
establish the
round
property?
schoolhouse?
I'll have to do a little research. I'll see if, there's deeds for everything, but I'll have to see if there's a survey. And if there is, because that abuts, I think, the Baloo property up there, I'd have to look at it, I'm just speculating at this point. But everything's got a deed, everything's got a parcel ID and so forth. So between the listers and myself, I think we can get a reasonable assumption of what the property lines are.
All right, so should we put this back on the agenda for next meeting so we can talk about the property lines? By then I will have contacted the Historical Society, tell them that we're researching this and that they also need to have a meeting anyway. Could be a meeting about the tree.
If they want any input, they need to be at that meeting.
Okay, so,
The only thing is you probably want to have this done before it leaves out. It'll make the job a lot easier and less expensive, I don't think.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
let's say 4. So next meeting is the 18th. So, well, I understand what you're saying, but going out asking for more tree people, we have to write a bid up then, or we have to write up a RFP proposal and advertise it, or we don't have that. It's not,
Well, if it's less than, what's the, I forgot the purchase price.
Yeah, we don't have,
Yeah, you don't have to bid it out.
and assuming it's not gonna end up being.
No, it couldn't be $7,000, jeez. My God.
if I'm thinking
We're in the wrong
$1,000,
business.
one level of $1,000 somewhere in the property, in the,
Now, I believe that, we do have that money that was donated to
Right.
the round schoolhouse. Plus, I believe we have a $600 reserve for tree work for the town in our budget.
okay.
Yeah, we also have a budget of over $4,000 in the round schoolhouse fund without the $500 last time I looked.
Okay.
Right,
So we
so
do
we
have
got
money
plenty of
now.
time.
Some money that's, yeah.
Money's not an issue. We don't, that's coming out of the road fund? Is that in?
Well, it was the town highway budget. Well, I don't know if it was highway budget, but it's under tree removal
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
budget. One item.
All right, so I'm gonna put the discussion of the tree removal around the round schoolhouse on the April 18th agenda. We will have information from Guy about the property line at that time, and I will have invited members of the Historical Society to come to that April 18th meeting, and
For discussion.
I wonder if, I don't know if it would be an inconvenience if people showed up, say 15 minutes early, just to walk across the road to witness.
Look at it.
I could put some ribbons on the trees that were issued.
That's a great idea.
That's a great idea, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
6:15 site visit at the round schoolhouse
Yep.
on April 15th, April 18th.
You know, again, nobody wants to cut a tree that doesn't have to be cut, but if it would help keep the schoolhouse drier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
You know, the roof was put on, I can remember, I don't know how many years back it was, but you
Not
can
many,
see, if you look up, the wood is,
I remember it.
got like moss growing,
Yeah, that'll always happen on the north side.
Yeah.
and it's under the shade of that big tree.
One thing about the time we meet, we're gonna have bids being opened, correct, for the
For the.
True.
That's not good. So we'll just have to make sure
We'll be prompt and get back.
I can have the bids opened at 7 if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Open the
Could
bids
do,
at
yeah,
7.
sure.
Let's do that.
That's a good idea.
Unless there's in case we get into discussion or something.
Now, also, I had left it open with the one guy there at Car Tree Service to maybe come and answer any questions about trees and removal. If you want him here, I could invite him or somebody. How do you feel about
Okay.
having a tree guy on site, or?
That works.
It's okay with me.
Okay, please. You want to ask Henry?
I would ask Henry.
He can come
On the 18th.
on the 18th. We'll meet him at 6:15, so if he wants to get here at 6, or
Okay.
whatever, we'll, okay.
Okay.
And do you want me to send out an invite to Mr. Brooks?
No.
Tom Brooks. Lou.
Oh, Tom Wood.
Tom Bloom, okay. All right, you talk to Henry Carr, and I'll talk to Tom Bloom.
Because he drives by here every day. Thomas says.
Yeah,
I mean, she lives right down the street.
great.
Okay.
I'm not gonna bring this up, it's under this. We're not talking about the $500 donation right now.
That was $500 donation. To use that money could be used for the tree removal.
Yeah, what I'm driving at is, would I be going out of sequence if I brought something else in reference to that $500? Because it was lined up for 9B and.
We can bring that up because I said just
Okay.
nobody was had a problem.
Tomorrow's not gonna be here for a little while, so.
What's that?
Tomorrow's
Tomorrow's not gonna be here till 1:15.
Yeah, I wanted to address what you had brought up a little while ago, and Mark just touched on about the mold. You said that Roger Albee was really upset with the mold and
Inside the building, there
Inside
was
the
a green
building?
slime that July when he went in there because the humidity was so high. There was no electricity, so there's no dehumidification in there.
so should we?
Windows aren't open yet to air it out.
Circulation of any kind.
No circulation.
No air to let it.
Well, the same thing happened in the meeting house. You should have seen Stan Nogan on a 12-foot ladder, I don't know, with a mop and Clorox
And Clorox, yeah.
taking the line off the center, right in the sanctuary. It was amazing. He's amazing when he gets to come.
Yeah.
What a workhorse. He's like Mark.
Yeah.
Mark, you're-
Mold and mildew
you're more than
it's just as bad as a wrecking ball. Yeah.
So maybe we should address that. Maybe we should think, if we get the preservation center, around the schoolhouse.
Well, I think right now we need to concentrate on the tree problem, and then I think we really need, at the time that hopefully the Historical Society
Shows up.
shows up,
We can
we'll
bring it
say,
up.
we need to have another meeting to discuss the other projects,
Yeah.
the mold,
Yeah.
what other things need to be done. I mean, when you have donated wood that's sitting there for 10 years because nobody used it, that's sad.
Is there donated woods in there?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what,
no.
that big 6x6 has been laying there for 6 or 7 years because there was a falling out between some members and it just disgusted them and they just stopped doing what they were doing. That's how that all came about.
Okay.
So I'll just leave it at that.
Before we go. It's like the old office.
Yeah.
All right, so this is summary then.
Yeah.
Guy's gonna research property line. I'll ask the Historical Society to come. I'll ask Tom Bloom to come, take a look at it. He can be here too if he wants on the 18th. We'll ask Henry Carter come a little earlier to the meeting to take a look around 6:15, ask questions about the tree. We'll put that early on the agenda,
Okay, so
obviously.
we'll do that, don't we?
And move the bid opening till 7 PM.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the other bit.
That's the bid for the carpentry work at Sunrise Days after.
I wonder, not to get off on the subject, but I wonder if we had like a quarterly input from Historical Society on progress or something for the schoolhouse. Like, we kind of know what's going on with the meeting house, but if we had a certain time of year.
Well, from what I've read, all committees should have a regular schedule published with the town clerk. For example, we meet first and third. Planning meets 7 PM on the second Wednesday. Historical Society should tell us they're gonna
They
meet
used to.
the third month, twice a year or something like that.
As I've said to everyone, all they have to do is go on the website, all the meetings are posted, what days are available and so on and so forth, so it's relatively easy to do. There just seems to be a total lack of interest. I'm sorry, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Because again, those are meetings, they have to be posted just like any, warned and blah, blah, blah.
All right, we'll see if we can get that going a little bit. Samara's not gonna be here for a little bit. Anything else for highways and
Was that our
roads?
current projects and plans discussion?
Yes, projects and plans and
9B.
9B. Okay, so I guess we can go to 9A. Old business, Brookline Meeting House
Not until
discussion.
Sonara gets here, please, because Sonara wanted to get part of it.
Oh, all right. I can bring up two things.
You can keep on moving, huh?
So-
Emails and whatever. You can-
All right, you want to do, all right, and I can bring up the June thing later, when Samara gets here then.
What?
I thought you had a TV on.
I do. I slightly got that.
All right, so we'll keep 9B until after Samara Stewart gets here. So we can move on to communications already?
9C?
9C, vacant seats.
That's the other
This
big.
must be my, I must
Oh.
have brought the wrong, okay. 9C vacant seats. I did not follow through on what I said I was gonna do because I forgot. To write to Julie Lavorga and ask her to publish the vacant seats for the, so I will have to do that. That's my fault. Sorry. All right, vacant seats.
Could have
They're
been.
not any less vacant now.
No.
It really hasn't changed anything.
Night.
Oh, good night.
Good night, Marie.
When,
Okay, good.
Did you see the solar panels, Marie?
which, behind the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't taken a breath to stop and really look at them.
Vast.
Yeah, and they're working, right?
Not yet. They've got,
Oh, they're not?
they won't be up and running for a little bit, but they're just about
Okay,
ready.
somebody told me they were live.
Oh, what are they?
But I don't know what's reliable, Bruce.
No.
Yeah, tell me about it.
All right.
All right,
Good night,
thanks.
Sorry for interrupting.
No,
It's
you're
okay.
good.
Thank you, Marie. All right, right, so, we're meeting now, so communications, email. All right, Wyndham, I'm now down at 11A. Wyndham Regional Commission, Ashley Collins was emailing back and forth about having a regional meeting to approve the Brookline Town Plan that Select Board has approved and so on and so forth. There is some confusion because the last I read was that they wanted to have it in Brattleboro because while they normally would hold it in the town, Brookline, the plan was for, because of their scheduling tightness, they might just do it in Brattleboro. But Tom Cavat was getting back, and I don't know where, if I'm still in the loop or...
The bottom line, it's going to be on May 2nd, prior to the select board meeting. And the reason for the meeting is that we have a town plan in effect. Now, we can go one step further, which we've elected to do, to go to have the regional commission approve it. When you have that done, they add a few more perks to what our town plan gets us. I can't recall what they are. But in that progress, basically the Wyndham Regional calls for a hearing from people in that town to see if they want to add anything, because that's their level. We're done with our level. Now it's the regional commission. They normally have it in the town where the town plan is being approved. There had been some talk because of tightness of schedules, but right now
Is that what the last word was?
Yep, it's going to be May 2nd, prior to the select board meeting, and that's when they'll have a hearing. And that's basically the hearing is all done by the Wyndham Regional Commission. They warn it, they do everything, and then people come here and add, just like they did for the select board, what they think on a regional basis, how the town plan impacts the regional commission and the town regional plan.
So then the last thing that I got was accurate. She just needs to have the mailing, the street address for the town hall so she can
Yep.
advertise its location. So I'll send that.
734 Grassy Brook Road.
734?
Yep.
34. I sent it to the wrong person. 734. I sent it to 736.
Well, that's why the email is wrong. Our email is because when the email was set up originally, she put it as 734, thinking that was the name.
No, 736.
736, she thought that was the name of the building.
And then she got that wrong, so it was 763. It's a long story.
All right.
So what is the street address?
734 Grassy Brook Road
All right.
is the 911
Correctly
address.
displayed on the town report.
Okay.
No, it is correct
Unlike
on that.
736 that it's been every other year previously.
No, it is correct. It is correct. I noticed that.
Very good.
Good job.
All right, so I'll just follow up on her, make sure she has the address. All right, the other thing that it came in an email, Wyndham Solid Waste Management District Representative Appointment Letter. They want to...
Yeah, so they have to, because of the regional, the district's charter says that in order for representatives to be officially accepted, the select board chair of the towns have to notify the district in writing
That we appointed
every,
someone.
that you appointed me.
All
It
right.
doesn't have to be that you can send an email.
Okay.
So you just have to send an email to the district
address,
office.
that letter that came in.
Yep, exactly. Just
I'll respond to the email.
Exactly, just respond to that, and that'll
Do you
be
have a middle
enough.
name? Is it David Jones, just plain David Jones?
David is my middle name, so
What's your first name?
it's not irrelevant. It's okay. No, my first name is James, but that doesn't have any bearing on it.
Because they know who he is.
Okay. Very good. All right, Wyndham Regional, Wyndham Solid Waste, very good. All right, regular mail.
Some of that may be some old mail, I don't know.
Vermont League of City and Town News, we got that.
We haven't gotten the
Don't
email.
jinx it.
We haven't gotten the email.
There's some interesting articles in there, you know,
This is the copy from tonight's select board meeting, Perkins Air Care.
I told Bonnie, yeah, no, I don't know what she was thinking.
Yes.
That was last.
She's trying to take it for Bernadine. Bernadine was just wild.
Cops of tonight's select board.
He stepped out of line. she
Bruce, did
stepped
you
on
ask
it.
for copies of,
Oh, this was a copy of the, I think, the estimate you got
The
for
estimate for
tonight.
the
is this,
heaters?
Oh, I've got copies of them.
Okay.
so it must
So
have
you
been
don't
there
need-
last
No,
night.
unless anybody else wants mine. sitting
That
there.
must have been left in the mailbox.
We're talking about $7,200?
Yeah, this was old,
Old news.
Okay.
$7,200.
We have a letter from
Not yet.
Jamie Bernard saying that he will no longer be available for spring cleanup for our cemeteries. So we were going to send to him the vendor paperwork, the W-9 paperwork. So he's no longer available to do that. As it is, I still might try to reach out to the Vermont,
Do you like the butterflies?
what's the name of it, conservation
What kid doesn't?
group that has young men and women who come in and
Conservation
do.
Corps.
Yes, the Conservation Corps. So I'm gonna try to do that for our
I think it's a
cemetery
really good
cleanup.
idea.
So, that's, otherwise we,
I don't even see that.
so this is just,
If anybody wants to see the,
Sustas, we got mail from Sustasimo Lumber for information about the aggregate construction material, riprap and so on and so forth.
And then that can go to Mark.
Okay, go to Mark. We got a return receipt from Beverly Waters receiving her dog
That's the second.
protection order. Okay. This is a letter from the Agency of Natural Resources about the non-transient, non-community water system at Sunny Lane Daycare. And it is the capacity for our continuous disinfection requirement. I'm gonna follow up on that, but I'll let you read this if you like. We got a letter from the Vermont Judicial Bureau about the docket ticket that was issued to Beverly Waters by the town of Brookline through Nancy Libby. There was some lack of Serviceman Civil Relief affidavit or declaration indicating that the defendant is not on active military duty, so on and so forth. So the ticket did not go through. I'm not sure, I'll talk to Nancy about this. I don't know how much fuel we want to add to the fire that's already started. Oh, here's a Beaver Management Road Scholarship Workshop, Mark.
Yep, that's for,
And we're here, safety, road safety, I'll pass these on to Mark, if you don't mind. Select board and then Mark
We
will.
keep getting repeats, some of them are some I've already done. so,
Right.
But I'll look at some that I haven't.
And this is from Wyndham Regional Commission Energy Plan. It's a hearing draft. Wow, this is a big hearing draft. When is the hearing?
April,
April 12th?
I think it's April.
Yeah, oh, no, Monday, April 9th. 6:30 Monday, April 9th, at Townsend Town Hall. Thursday, April 12th, at the Westminster Institute. There's a hearing about the Wyndham Regional Energy Plan, and this is the hearing. So to read before you go.
That must have been the meeting you thought was April 19th. Guy, this must have been the meeting you were thinking was April 19th.
Is that what it is?
19th.
Okay, yeah. I knew there was something
Oh, this
close by.
Whatever.
What's going on April 19th?
When you go sleep.
Cash. I'll read it.
I'm just gonna, it's on the website too.
Well, we're gonna-
And then
you
and
can
so
fill that out.
supplies.
Thank you.
Good.
That's it for now.
You may need that.
I did threaten my dog with her. She seemed to understand.
Could be that CRATE
She
did it.
might remember the week that she ever was in it before.
All right, we're gonna move back up to old business. Samara, how is babysitting? Good?
It's good, I'm exhausted.
You look at
Story?
Yeah, you know, last night he crawled into, the 3-year-old crawled into bed, you know, and he proceeded to snuggle with Grandma, and then he falls asleep, and then he kicks Grandma all night.
Yes, well, that's,
And then in the morning he says, "How did you sleep, Grandma?" "Well, someone was kicking me all night." He goes, "Oh, that was me." So it was not a good night's sleep, but we went to the butterfly place down in Deerfield today.
that's what I've been there.
Before we jump into the salt shed stuff,
Okay.
just curious, you know, I've been sort of distracted this week, but we have the Better Bank Roads grant. I need a signed agreement page, and I have it. And I forgot to tell Louise to leave it for you. So if you are up to, that's the one that we applied for the small grant with Wyndham Regional. Basically, it's a Better Bank Roads grant. It's to do the road inventory, to pay Wyndham Regional to do our road inventory that Mark will assist with.
Okay.
For the field work. And I got the email last Wednesday maybe, and I thought, or Tuesday or something, and I think I sent out an email, and then I thought, oh, I'll just save it for this meeting when I can hear back.
So you
Rushing in the door.
you want us to, you want me to sign?
Yeah, I do. The post-it is right on the page that needs to be signed.
So that's just housekeeping. Okay, housekeeping is, it's not something that we, okay.
It's something that we applied for, we got. I
Was that
got-
who's supervising this is a question, is that?
You have to designate who's, well, I would say it would be Mark. Mark is our supervisor of this project, of that project. Yeah? He's a town employee. He has to be a town employee.
All right, because it says it needs select board signature and who is supervising this, so I'll put Mark Bills.
E. Mark Bills,
E. Mark Bills.
because you'll be working with the original. And then I'll make a package for you with what you need, and they'll know. They've done this, they've been doing these. This is going on statewide, the regional commissions.
Yeah.
Everybody has to have their,
It's like step A to being more
Printed.
eligible for all the
And sign in
grants,
here?
right?
right.
I guess so.
And it's mandated it's a water,
Well,
you know, clean water, it's part of the stormwater.
Right, runoff.
Project. Same as, actually, the saltwater shed falls under the same different department. Different kind of money. This is state money, this is federal money. That's through the state.
Okay, so I signed this as the select board chair.
And I just need to return the sheet. Her email says, we'll scan and return the signature page.
Okay.
Thank you, I'll take that back.
Okay.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
anything right there.
I'll just lay it up top.
Yep.
Okay,
So-
sand salt shed.
Okay, so you all got my email to we have to follow pretty stringent hiring procedures in a nutshell. So after reading through the grant, the first thing I went is, oh, look this is federal money. Which the good news is, there are some good news features to this grant. We have an assigned grant manager. His name is Chris Hunt, and I spoke to him at length a week ago Monday. And the good news is that the extent this grant goes through 2022. It's not something we have to rush. You know, they expect us to do this very methodically and following all of their I dotting and T crossing.
So it's 5 years.
Because we're,
Pardon?
no.
Yeah. So with the culvert grant going on and this road inventory going on, and now the salt shed, which we do absolutely want to undertake, I think you can see there's a window and there's a presumption that it's going to be a less, you know, a substantial project, and we're not going to just do it willy-nilly, because it has to meet environmental rules, the plans have to be blessed, the project has to be managed a certain way, they have specific forms to hand in, which some of them I think you might have had links to from their website. And it's reimbursable, which means we don't have to front all the money up front. We can bill as we go. So as invoices come in, they can be submitted and then they'll deposit our money, presumably via ACH. I didn't ask that question. I'm pretty sure we're set up for ACH. I'll have to double check that if we have to do anything special for federal money. But probably not, because we got FEMA money, so I'm betting we're set up. But so the first step, the very first step, which was what you all were set to do with Ron Bell, is to hire what they call your municipal project manager. So the choices are, it can be a town employee, which in our case, I personally think is ill-advised because we're all part-time and this is a full-time project and there's a lot of hoops to do. If we had a full-time, you know, municipal project engineer or manager or something, obviously if we were a bigger city municipality, that would make sense. Then another choice is to go to the Regional Planning Commission and see if they have the availability and are willing to be the municipal project manager and what their cost would be. The next option, which is to go to their list of a qualified roster. It's part of their At the Ready program. So what they've done is they've vetted a number of project managers and engineers who have worked on this stuff and who meet all of the federal, requirements. Like they know they've been vetted for state debarment and all the various employment rules and all of that stuff. So you can go look at that roster of people and get, quotes from that roster. And then the last choice would be, for example, if we wanted to use, well, there's actually a sixth choice, but in order to get reimbursed for the expense, the last choice would be to do open bid proposals. And so there you would, you have to do competitive bidding. You probably would want to advertise within, the ad somehow, take a look at the grant details and make sure that all the mandated, statutory requirements, federal and state, are met. One cautionary, which, involves doing the publications, taking the bids. One of the things that Chris told me was one problem, and I asked if Ron Bell was on their list, and he said, unfortunately, no. So if we do want to consider Ron Bell, then you would want to go to the open bidding process for a municipal project manager. That's the title that you'd be hiring. So I think the initial, thought of getting an outside project manager for the Salt Shed project, given the complexity of the grant requirements, is a good one. And what we as a town want to make sure is that we get someone who knows the ropes and that we're confident with. And then it becomes the select board's job to manage the manager, in essence. The manager has to report back, the manager, you will have to negotiate and have some sort of an agreement stating, what the expectations reporting, whatever expectations you want to put into it.
So that could add quite a bit more cost to the whole,
Well, I'm hoping that what you'll have to do is see if the total amount of the grant that we get, which I wrote down, and I'm totally, the total,
I thought it was 275.
I'm getting to the right page. The total amount that they're giving us is $188,000. Our match, which can be monetary or in kind, is $47,000. So, yeah, the total award amount is $188,000. We have to add $47,000 to it, so the total cost is 200, the math if you had. It is a 5, wait. Yeah.
but if we add on, an overseas engineer,
Well,
that cost,
their assumption is that this has to cover everything.
the grant covers.
The grant covers the project manager, the cost of building it, the cost of the plans, the cost of, everything. So hopefully, we planned accordingly and budgeted accordingly. I wasn't privy to that. Were you with Archie when you guys figured out how much you thought it would cost?
No, I was not. They took the state blueprints that were larger, and Ron Bell took Archie's information on size for our town and kind of downsized the state proposed blueprint to meet our needs for quantities. And so that's what the prices came from, the downsized state approved blueprint.
Okay, so whether or not that included a project manager is,
Well, yeah, I'm not
Maybe-
sure about that
Yeah.
because I know Ron had agreed to
he agreed to
oversee
do
it,
it,
but
700.
yeah, which is very reasonable.
Well, I guess I would just clarify that, looking at his proposal at least, this doesn't look like it was a proposal to project manage the project. It merely is a proposal to do a few inspections at certain points. So it's a different, I don't think he was ever suggesting he would do what we're talking about.
Right, and I think as you said, a full-time engineer on site
Yeah.
every day.
Well, it wouldn't be a full-time engineer, the engineer is not, it's kind of like the general contractor who would then hire the other contractors. So you have to have approved engineering plans.
And does that come though as a percentage of the whole job, as the price of one of those guys? Or-
I don't know. That would be a question that I would ask these managers.
What was the question?
I just wondered how one comes about. Is it per hour or is it a percentage of the cost of the job?
I don't know.
And if so, would it add quite a bit to our price?
Well, that's what we have to look at, is what's the budget? And I'm afraid that's probably, you're gonna have to talk to Archie and see if he anticipated the red tape cost.
I don't think that he did. I'm pretty sure when we discussed this a couple of months ago, I think that was, and I think Archie was the one who first brought this up at that point of sort of the realization of
Somebody to oversee.
there's probably needs to be someone to oversee this. And how might that work?
So, in my mind, the first steps I would take would be to start calling people and saying, we're a small town, we have this much money, how do you charge? Have you done projects on this scale before? Can we do some sort of boilerplate shed? Like if they were working off of a state plan and we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
We got those set of plans, I think, from Dummerston's Vermont Department of Transportation. and like I say, they're a proposed blueprint, like a standard issue. Town of Townsend is working out of the same shed, those blueprints. So they've had one done in the past several years.
Built with the same kind of
I
funding?
believe, well, I don't know about funding, but the same blueprints. And Jamaica is just finishing up, they just built a new
So,
shed. So maybe there's some information that could be got from those two towns to see what they did for.
so you're probably gonna wanna
General
slice up some
contracting
research on what's the most cost-effective way to go about this in terms of meeting the requirements.
I'm just gonna go over one thing. So you need to hire some kind of municipal project manager, and there were 4 things that you said. Chris Hunt is our assigned grant manager, but you said
Yeah.
that we can either have a town employee, but it's not a good idea for Brookline because everybody's part-time.
Yeah.
Or we can hire someone through the regional plan
You
commission.
can call your regional planning commission and see if,
Wyndham Regional Plan.
that would be Wyndham Regional, and see if they have, what their cost would be and, what their skill set would be. That would be acceptable.
Or they're gonna
You can-
provide us a list of qualified.
You can go
roster.
to that website link I sent you
Do eeny, meeny, miny, mo kind of thing?
and, do like hiring any contractor, call them and make your own arrangements and see what the best deal we can get.
And then the last was to have an open bid proposal.
Which to me personally sounds like the most work. And also, given our smallness, will we get qualified
Yeah.
bidders? I don't know.
It
Yeah.
also seems like we just open ourselves up to you. I mean, if
I think
one of the
you open yourself up
requirements
to
of the
more
grant
risk.
is that we follow their procedures, it seems
We want someone who knows-
short-sighted to not have someone who
Has done
can
it before.
guarantee that they will follow their procedures.
Right.
So,
Now, what I should probably do, so that you can really see what other questions you come up with, is scan this grant and email it to you.
yeah,
Would you like that?
I would.
Okay.
I would, I'd love
Yeah,
to.
because I asked a lot of questions. There's all kinds of, like I asked about their rules, there's all kinds of rules about right-of-way. And we should not have any, he said that should not be an issue for us. We should be able to self-certify that there's no right-of-way problems because it's on town-owned land. And ditto, he thought we could, I think he said we have to have environmental certification. I don't remember if he said that was self-certifiable. There's something called NEPA compliance, which I forget what that acronym stands for off the top of my head right now. Basically, the town and the state will monitor the municipal project manager. We should,
Please.
I asked him about if setting up separate account, if my accounting thoughts on how to set up accounts to account for the money would be sufficient, and he said yes. Which is, what I'll do is I'll do what I usually do. I set up one line item of expenditures that say grant number, whatever the grant number is, grant number CA0534, salt shed grant, and one for grant revenues that says the same thing. So we can easily, the federal, we can easily say we've segregated the funds and we haven't used the funds to pay for something else. They already have our VLCT insurance certificate, which is fine. It meets the qualifications, so we don't have to redo that. What does this note mean?
I hate when I find notes and I don't.
Okay. Oh, right, the municipal project manager, whoever that designated party is, hires the design engineer and a variety of folks to certify to the specifications that are required. And personnel hiring things have to be within certain federal wage rate requirements. Has to be equal opportunity employer and meet Davis-Bacon requirements, whatever they are. Don't ask me, but it's the usual federal brouhaha. But the key step for the select board at this point is to figure out who this MPM, to get into acronyms, municipal project manager, should be. Who will best meet our needs at a cost that will be meetable and affordable.
I think the only two things that you had mentioned would be looking, that would be functional, would be looking at seeing if the Wyndham Regional
Yeah,
Commission can help. I don't feel comfortable looking at a list of qualified roster people, because how would I know, or how would any of
Well,
us?
they're already pre-vetted. But, so then the question is, the state has said, these people know how to do this job.
Right.
That's the point of them doing that. Saying, these are qualified people that we trust and have vetted and have jumped through all the hoops we've made them jump through. So it's a question of cost to me. I don't know if they're expensive, reasonable, if they base it on a percentage like Mark said, or if it's hourly. I have no idea. So those would all be good questions to ask. And see if any, one of my pet peeves and an issue that I come see frequently is, will any of them be in our area?
I would start with the Wyndham Regional Commission.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
Because, so what I know also just from talking to other folks is there are conservation districts that do this type of work. But they're pretty darn reasonable. However, Wyndham Conservation District just lost its district. They're just hiring a brand new district manager, so I don't think they're a good choice. Because this is a stormwater environmental thing. Conservation districts would be the ones that, but not in our case, not for Wyndham.
So what should I do?
Well, I should come in and scan this and send this to you.
Okay.
And then I think you should, if I were doing this, I would look at your fellow board members and maybe figure out who's going to call Wyndham Regional and explain that we got this grant and we need to hire a municipal project manager to help get our salt shed done. You could also try talking, like Mark said, call a couple other towns.
I know Townsend would be number one on my list, because they're our neighbor and they've got a full-size salt sand shed, same design.
Yeah, I think it'd be useful for us to know how what process they used.
Yeah.
See if they got a grant, or if they did it, see how they funded it. Questions would be, how did you fund it? Who did you if it was through this federal environment, I don't know the exact name of the grant, but it's all stormwater management related.
When we first were aware of this grant, Wyndham Regional, the first guy we talked with who came and looked at the site to see if it fit the application for the grant, he's no longer with Wyndham Regional, but the guy that Archie and I met with Ron Bell at the site after that to get the ball rolling again was Chris Cantney from Wyndham Regional. So maybe he could point you in a direction of who that right person would be.
As a commissioner for the town, I can give Chris a call if you'd like.
Thank you.
Or
So the first thing I will do though,
and start with him first and then...
and I do think you should what I had started doing was like going, okay, this is a big grant, I should set up a checklist. And then I started reading and went, oh, okay, they probably have their little checklist. This is federal. It's like, I don't want to muck it up. I want to make sure I'm understanding what should go into our checklist. But I think what I'll do is I will try and get in either tomorrow or Friday and scan the grant agreement for you and email it out to everybody so you can peruse it. And I will type up my notes so
That's
they're a
called
little
the
more
municipal
legible.
project manager?
It's, yeah, Municipal Project Manager, MPM is their acronym. So, interestingly, I was at a VLCT-sponsored government accounting update that included grants compliance, and they had a whole list of things people do wrong. So I will try and like type up some of my notes so that we have some guide, we can start building on what other people have done.
Right, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. each
Yeah, I
time.
mean, the good news is this isn't a fire drill because it's a 2022, it's a
5 years.
Yeah, this grant doesn't end until 2022. I'm gonna double check that, but I'm sure.
That's 5 years.
Yeah.
So
However,
we're not looking at breaking ground this summer.
I would think not. Don't you have that big Gulf culvert grant to do?
Yes, yes.
So,
Okay.
that would be, hey, what did you guys do about road commissioner? I never heard.
The select board is holding on the crown.
Okay,
Until we can figure out something else or...
Want a job?
no. I have a job. 2 jobs.
All right, so just in summary then, Guy, you're gonna check with Chris Campbell.
Yes, I will. I'll call him
Regional,
tomorrow.
And ask him about this federal grant for the sand.
And maybe he
salt.
can steer me in the right direction.
Maybe he knows of the one, maybe Townsend did work through the same grant, and maybe find out if
Yep.
he has any connections with Townsend.
Just explain to him it's a federally funded grant.
Yeah, Chris will know.
And he'll know.
Yeah.
I got the idea. They've been my experience talking to whoever I talked to about applying for the little grant was.
John Bennett?
John Bennett, maybe.
Yeah, John Bennett or Emily Davis or
Yep.
Emily Davis,
Yeah.
very good, yep.
They were very easy to work with and they seemed very accommodating and knowledgeable. And they were straightforward. This is how many people, this is our hourly rate, this is how we charge, so. And as with all things, these things are negotiable. That will be the select board's main task, is hiring the right person.
I think if we get the right first steps going, then things will start to fall into place and we'll feel a bit more comfortable with it by reading the grant.
Yeah, because basically what our Chris told me, Chris Hunt told me, is that we can call him at any time with questions, and once you hire your municipal project manager, they handle most of the paperwork. And that, yes, we will get frustrated and have a few headaches along the way. Because it's federal money, and they ask for more paperwork for the, At least it's not over, well, I shouldn't say at least, but if you go over 750,000, you have to have a big audit, which we don't have to do that.
Well, the big thing, it's saving the town a great deal of money,
Oh, yeah,
so it's,
absolutely. You're right on that.
Thanks.
So, yeah,
So we're at a, I was thinking we were gonna start this summer, and I was just sweat this out, and I'm like, oh, so this is good that it takes.
no,
5
you want
years.
to do it with deliberation. I think there's no point in rushing. In fact, I think I'll go scan this right now, so I don't have to worry about coming in tomorrow.
Bruce, didn't you want her getting some figures?
No, I just wanted her to be a part of the discussion I talked about at the meeting house.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, you want me to share my anecdotal conversations?
Whatever you want to say.
All right, so are we done?
The one other thing I guess I'd say on the salt sand shed is that we probably, maybe it's not immediately, but before too long, we should probably have an agenda item and schedule with Archie to come back in for us to talk about.
Their thoughts, when he came up with the
His
dollar amount that we asked for, well, how, what was in that estimate, that would be useful to know. Because then, if we have to adjust or,
There was also one thing Archie had mentioned too, that if we were gonna put it out to bid, it should be put out to bid early enough, like late winter, so that we get some good bids in. So if it's not going this winter, we can do it next
Right.
year or whatever.
right, that's where like someone, right now, you have to get the project manager, who will then
Like
get it up
it's,
to
That will
all
start
the
the
other
ball rolling.
contractors who's gonna actually build it.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'd be worthwhile, I think, to talk to other towns and see how they did it,
Right.
see if they did it well.
so we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, just to touch base about the Linden Regional Center contact that Guy's gonna have with them. I'll put that on the agenda, and then we'll decide when we need to have Archie come back in to talk about that. All right.
Yeah, as far as projects go on the roads, we have the box culvert going in this summer. Then we have.
Do you know when that's gonna be?
I haven't heard yet a date when they will be in town.
Okay.
No, I have not heard that. So then we have the salt sand shed, but our next large project will be the next culvert down Grassy Brook Road. There's another one in the same shape that will be our next project. It would be nice if it were next summer, because it's in that condition that the same one here is.
Okay. Where is it close to?
It's at the bottom of Alan Brown's driveway, which is Marie, you know where Marie's house is?
Yeah, with the solar
Okay,
panels on.
Going back out of town, as you pass Marie's, it
Yeah.
would be that next little stream. Right.
Is that where you were working last summer? In the,
I cut the brush away.
Yes.
So we could expose it and see it, but that's gonna be a box culvert as well.
Okay.
And that one is in
2019.
bad need. It may fail before we even get a grant, but it's a combination of cement, metal. It's not good, but it's working.
okay.
And we do have a hydraulic study done on that one, but because it's gonna be a structures grant, we haven't,
All right, well,
it's on the sites for the next project.
all right, well, let us know what we can do when you're ready for us to do something on that.
Okay.
All right.
The biggest thing you guys should be thinking about now are what other grants are out there for stuff like that, for down the line. Because this is when, at the beginning of the year, is when you need to call the agency. Do you have all of Archie's contacts at the Agency of Transportation, or Mark does? Because this is where I would start thinking
Mark
about.
Pickering, we have this,
Mark Pickering,
replacement
Megan
culvert
Brown.
issue here. We have the map with the conditions of all culverts. Being that this road is our class 2, we're eligible for, structure grants. And that's how we got this structure grant, but there's a waiting process according to how much road you have in each town, and it's a long waiting process, but maybe we should apply as soon as we can, knowing that.
We might not get it this time, we might have to wait a year.
Yeah, I don't picture it being this summer, but
No.
if we.
So is it common practice to apply, fail, and then reapply and get it? Is that what you're saying, or?
I had a call from the office today, and I didn't get in touch with them because they'd left for the day, but I'll call tomorrow and talk to this girl Megan and ask her about that. I'll ask her how soon we can apply and maybe get some progress out of it.
They're pretty helpful, because they want to fund projects. All these agencies want to get their money out there doing what it's supposed to do.
Those existing culverts you know, it did the job for many years, but now with this new water quality and due to flooding, they want box culverts instead of culverts. So,
And they're more costly and more costly.
so if you could just go ahead and replace it with the next size bigger plastic, it would be fine, but that's not
But they want to.
what they want us to do anymore.
All right. So you're gonna give her a call and find out a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'll try to contact her tomorrow.
All right. So we're gonna move back up to old business. I wanna bring two things to the attention under Brookline Meeting House discussion. You guys read Front Porch Forum, and one of my brothers, there was an interesting little article on Front Porch Forum, I brought it with me, about a new idea called Neighbors Day. And it is going to be in Vermont on Saturday, June 2nd. And it's an idea that they wanted to have throughout Vermont where, okay, I'll read it to you. On Saturday, June 2nd, 2018, Vermont will become the first state in the United States to hold a statewide celebration of Neighbors Day. The concept is basic: dedicate at least one day a year to get to know your neighbors. Neighbor Day can be a barbecue, a plant swap, an ice cream social, but not a party for your entire village or town. Instead, it's a small-scale gathering in your locale to help people make connections with each other and to promote feelings of belonging. The size and type of your event are completely up to you. Show your state pride by planning a Neighbors Day event for you and your nearby neighbors. I thought that'd be perfect. This is what we were saying that we wanted to do for Goal at the Meeting House. So I'd like to tentatively put on the Brookline calendar that on Saturday, June 2nd, in the afternoon, maybe between 1 and 4 or 1 and 5, there'll be some kind of Neighbors Day event at the Brookline Meeting House. I thought we could do a cookie swap, it could be a perennial swap, it could be ice cream social, strawberry social. So it would be something that I'll work on and let the select board know, but I'd like, if it's all right with you, it's good to vote, but we could tentatively schedule that.
Yep, just shoot me the email, what you want me to put on the website.
Is that
and I'll-
something that we can?
I think it's the day of the stroll, so I might be.
But the stroll is over in the morning.
Right.
The stroll, because I've done the stroll, we won't by one.
We
so-
usually
I can tell.
stay.
I will be gone. I'm gone through that weekend, but this does sound like a good idea. My health, you know.
But I'm not thinking
I'm going
about
that
doing
way.
anything, huge for the first thing, but something that's easy to manage. A couple of people can do it, maybe have buildings open, around schoolhouse open, and just a start, cookies and food and ice cream. and stuff.
What date is that on June?
Saturday, June 7th. May. June 2nd, yes.
All right, yeah, well, the town clerk's office will be open anyway then.
Oh, perfect. So that was,
So that means he's not gonna be any help, he's just gonna be here.
I can't.
No, they can come in and we'll talk to them and
Okay. All
Make
right,
them
so
pay
that was
taxes.
something I just thought I wanted to bring up for.
It's a good idea.
Because that was showed up on the
Maybe we put that front porch
Front Porch Forum,
So
yeah.
they'll have that right there, they probably have something going on with that too.
All right, let's continue on.
I read all of the new venting about their stuff, the rest of it.
What's that?
The new thing.
No, I'm just saying, I don't tend to read the non-town specific
Oh,
posts on Front Porch Forum.
I just caught my eye. I said, oh,
No, it's
that's a
good.
good one. All right, around school, okay, we did that one. Meet with my meeting house discussion. Bruce, did you want to talk some more?
Yeah, say I was disappointed with the vote last, the 21st is an understatement. But I think we made a big mistake, and I put the word "we" in there because I think the brunt of it goes on my shoulders. I think I made a fast assumption that the board was going to kind of go along with the idea until, which was appropriate to talk to the to the two people on the committee. So I spent the last 2 weeks thinking about it, and Dot and I met for about an hour, and we had some agreements and we had some disagreements from basically what it comes down. The first thing that we agreed on is what we should try to develop is a vision for that building. What we're going to use for it, how we're going to use it. Dot came up with that wonderful idea 3 minutes ago, which is to start.
Yeah.
And Dot and I had a little bit of a disagreement on how to approach the use of the building. Disagreement one way, but not another way. Dot wants to use the building now and develop an interest in it, meaning the addition. Nothing wrong with that. I wanted to put the heat in so it would attract people to use the building, which is kind of a different ways and different people way to think about it. There was some. What really bothered me is there were some facts being thrown around pretty loosely at that time. And I went back to all my research and looked things up a little bit. And I just wanted to clear a few things up and we could discuss a little bit. But I really want to keep in mind what Dot and I agreed upon, which was try to develop a vision for that building. And obviously, people are involved. So that's not an easy thing. And I have an idea for that too. But we can go into it in a few minutes. So I looked at some of my information. I wanted to clear up a few points. First off, there was a lot of talk about doing things in order. And then Jan Lewandowski's analysis back in September 21st, 2014 came up. And I believe it was Leanne said, well, we haven't really completed all of what was on Jan's list. Well, that's not quite accurate. I went and looked through the whole thing, and mildew in the main, and I'm just going to cut to the chase. Mildew in the main room hasn't been completely remediated. Good, Bruce, good. You're ready for tomorrow. But I want to read you the section about the foundation of the addition, of what Mr. Lewandowski had to say. The addition to the church is on very minimal foundation. But like the main body of the church, the ground drainage must be good since large displacements of the buildings have not occurred. However, on all three sides, but particularly the north and rear, the stone and brick foundation is either pushed in from or dropped away from the sills. If enough support is lost, the building will sag and drop away from its connection with the brick church. A hard problem to solve. I just interject my own personal point, which Kerry and I looked at, that part of the building. And that building, that addition was put on in 1899, hasn't moved. That being said, the rest of what he has to say here. Jack under the sills of the addition and lifted up to straighten the near level position in order to maintain the historic foundation. It might be wise to excavate holes 3 to 4 feet deep at the corners and halfway along the walls, fill them with rubble, stone, so on and so forth. And at the very end, he goes, this is an inexpensive and probably effective solution to the foundation problem. So I don't believe that is a major issue. Plus, when Leanne went and got the quote from Farnham Insulation, part of it was the crawl space, $5,000 to insulate that crawl space. That's a lot of freaking money for that section. I can use that in a comparison when I went last April to Perkins Home Center and got a quote for $5,549. Let's call it a quote. It's not really an exact figure at this point because it's a year old. To cap the entire building, soup to nuts. To use that in comparison, that seems to be a bit steep. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. What I'm trying to say is a lot was said about doing things in order in terms of priority. And I'm going back to my original argument, which is, I had a question for Guy. Back last Christmas, how many donations, or Greatest American asked, how many donations did we get this year?
I'm not going to remember off the top of my head.
I don't think it was a $500,000, $700, 7,000. Was it in the thousands?
I mean, that's pure speculation, Bruce. We'd have to look that up
Okay.
because
I can look it up.
it would be misleading to give you a
But it
figure.
wasn't like the previous years, I don't believe.
There was significant fundraising.
Yeah,
in the last 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, that was,
For this time?
Not this year.
Not
this
this
year.
year.
Okay,
There was
not
no
this
major
year.
campaign this year.
Not for 2018.
My problem is, if we stop using the building or don't get using it, we won't increase the funding on the building. We'll be just,
That's true.
we would just be going on grants. I'll let Samara interject here in a minute, because you had mentioned some things that people wanted to use it for, which goes along and dovetails with what Dot was talking about. So if you...
Can I make one statement?
Yeah.
I think we're getting to a point where we're now doing another parallel. We have a committee that actually has members on it. They're not here to listen to this tonight. And we're refuting points from the last meeting that they apparently said, but they're not here to listen to this part of the
Well, you
meeting.
don't have much of a committee left.
We still have committee members who are
Right,
dedicated
right.
to this, and
Except-
there was a bit of an end around last time, and it's just like, we can't keep doing this, because we're gonna come back to the same point, where the committee that stayed on the committee is gonna feel like we're going behind their backs, and it's like, hold
No,
on.
because we can't, I'm sorry, excuse me, I'm sorry.
And I have a procedural issue with how this is going. It's just like, because I was actually surprised that this wasn't like in concert last time, that there hadn't been a consultation with the people who are still on the committee doing the work or overseeing it. And here we go again, where we're refuting things and people aren't here to answer for their own.
Okay, but we're not voting on anything.
It
So we-
doesn't, well, that
so we
doesn't
have a
really
right to-
matter though. I mean, they're not here to hear this direct feedback.
Well, can I, if you're done?
Sure, I just want to say I have an objection to
think what you're
the.
saying makes sense, and I think it's an ongoing, ebb and flow issue where people come and people go, and then you have one or two people who really want to see this project go ahead, and then I think you're right, in a way, which comes first, the support or the, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess I see Chris's point, and I think the remaining committee members who are active should be invited to come talk about what they need to see next, because then you'll know what they're thinking. If they want the select board to take it over, then Bruce, by all means, then you would have authority to do so, I would think
But
so.
I think they should, like, if there's gonna be refuted points from a meeting, they would.
I think
I
I've
just think
heard,
they should have been.
and I think what you're saying, to some extent, I agree with, because I know people, I know Ann Parker, I talked to her as a friend. We've talked about what she thinks about the Brooklyn Meeting House, and what her priorities are. I don't think it's right for me to sit here and tell you what I think her priorities are. I do know from talking to neighbors, there are young people who say, I don't care about whether the building is pristine, historic, renovation. I just want to see programming there. What can I do to get that? So, so there's a lot of different viewpoints, and maybe that's what, Bruce was interested in hearing me share. No, seriously, they're young neighbors, they have young kids. Their little girl never makes it to the playgroup because she gets up late. They keep her up late and she gets up late. It's Amy and Jesse.
Oh, yeah.
Amy and Jesse?
So we just met them.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, Bruce, I am sympathetic to what your goals are.
I'm empathetic to what you were saying.
So, but I do think
So
that
I
by...
totally disagreed with what you're saying.
And I do think that it is problematic. There's a delicate balance with how do you help the committee without disempowering the committee. You don't want to take away, otherwise the select board will just be back to doing everything, which
Yeah.
is not what,
That's a
I
good
don't
point.
think that's what the select board wants.
And it's also reasonable to think that we, even people who have been involved in it, don't have all of the answers, and
Right.
shouldn't be the sole people deciding this. I mean, I'd say even this discussion of what is the vision for the building, I mean, I think I brought up when those guys were here, I'd like all of us, the committee and us, to have a discussion about that, so at least we could try to understand what we all think our vision for the building would be.
Because
Not
at
that
least
necessarily-
that last meeting that we had a little discussion here, between Bruce and the other two on the committee, it was things that we had no idea. Because nobody's ever come to the board to tell us what was going on.
Yeah,
Well,
So between the three, I said, we got your aspects and their two, so we learned things that we didn't know.
right.
And it's like I said, this is at least really the most informed we've been since we bought that building.
there you go.
And that's what we need. We need everybody working together to find out what needs to be done.
Yeah, that was good dialogue last week. That was really good. I mean,
Can I go on and,
You're on the committee.
everybody,
Yeah, right.
everybody wants to use it. It's a beautiful building and years ago there wasn't as many regulations as today. And so one of the first few things, it's just like a grade school. If you got more than 13 people there, you gotta have good water and restrooms. So those are, if there's no septic, well, we could bring in a porta potty for events. Or
Maybe it's-
Yeah, I would say, yeah, initially.
concentrate on
yeah.
fixing you gotta have parking, you gotta have septic, water, access, you gotta have the handicap ramps. So there's a lot.
You're throwing a lot of things out there.
I know,
Yeah.
those are things, in order to start having events, those are things that gotta all take place.
I think the other thing that crosses my mind too is, I think about like Williamsville Hall, where it's not insulated, there's no heat. I've been through rehearsals there, freezing my little tootsies off.
And if you modify it, it's gonna change.
And I think, we've got, maybe the select board can help recruit more interested people.
You're gonna have
You
to
seem
put
to
a-
have a list of people who
Yeah.
I
are
can give you
interested.
some phone
so,
numbers.
yeah.
well, that was my feeling. It was a catch-22. You want to use the building, but you can't use it because it's not heated.
I know.
So it's a
There are a lot
catch-22.
of
Thank
people
you.
who are interested, so
I
maybe.
said that last week.
I know.
mean, I like the meet your neighbor thing. That's a step.
Yeah.
What's your second? I think that, and I don't think.
But
It's a good starting point.
But it's disingenuous to believe that you're gonna, like was said last week, that you're gonna use that meeting house 7 months a year. That's just.
No, I don't think that was, I don't
Yes, it
think
was
that.
said.
Maybe 3 or 4 months
But I
if you're
mean,
lucky.
Yeah, 7 months.
So,
So,
and I mean, and I know personally, just from my conversations, I personally would like to see a way to make the pews movable, because that would
We
make
talked about
and then I know it
Oh,
just.
they're not?
hmm,
I didn't know that.
They're currently bolted down.
they're both.
Yeah, they're both-
See, I didn't know that.
And in my sort of informal conversations,
You couldn't have a dance in
lots
there.
and lots of objectives
We
about why
talked
that
about that.
wouldn't
Peter
work.
Meyer and I talked to Green Lake.
And then
about
I
it.
said, wait a minute. So I go to an experience
That's
that
the
I
hall,
know of
the
a
wind.
church in Chicago where my son used it for his wedding reception. That's on the National Historic Register, and they figured out a way to make their pews movable. So I know it's possible.
We
So-
talked about it. I spent a lot of time with Peter Meyer discussing that sanctuary.
But I think a couple of people get a little too paranoid about it losing its historical value. And I understand it, but the bottom line is that if you can't move things around, you're not going to be able to use it.
That's right, but just a moment.
Right.
Just, you're not changing the historical
Right.
part of that building.
Right.
In fact, when I went to the 21st to that seminar and talked to Caitlin Corkins, who's head of the Vermont Historic Preservation Society, and I told her we were trying to figure about putting heat in the building. She's great. Now, she didn't say, wait a minute, that's a historically preserved building, you can't do that.
To Chris's point, we could sit here and talk about it all night, and we really need to invite the other committee members.
Well, I'm gonna get in touch with Leanne
And
and
more
tell her
other
about,
people.
we'll
Yeah,
talk about
Get other people in too.
the June 2nd thing, see if we can get some things going.
Leanne had
and
knee
we'll bring it back to
surgery,
next-
so she's
next
in
week.
recovery, so y'all know.
Yeah.
You all know Leanne had knee replacement surgery.
Ooh.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was here last.
Dave brought her down.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll contact Leanne. about the June. I would like to see the addition be spruced up a little bit. They could use a coat of paint eventually, and the kitchen, I know there's some money that.
There's $1,000 under
That
for
could be
kitchen
used,
renovation.
So those are things that I think that could be.
Which is great, but it won't, unfortunately, I don't believe it'll go very far in terms of the cost to replace those appliances, which were told to me by Perkins Heating that they're out of
Yeah, I
code.
think it'd
Oh, yeah, we
be
have to
dangerous to
replace
use,
them.
yeah, it'd be dangerous to use them, that old ones.
And another thing is if you're gonna use the addition at all, are we gonna use it unheated? And this is a discussion you and I got into, Dot, was, well, you need a heater in here and two in the sanctuary. Could we go for a grant with just the heater in the addition? Sure, we could. But why would you do that if you can get the money for all three at once?
But I also said that it's not the timing, we just don't have the time to do, jumping into this May 1st deadlines, and I think we all voted not to.
You did.
Well,
You did. And I made, if anybody's interested, I made a copy of the grant sitting right over there if you want to look at it. But I don't think it's as daunting as you think. But go ahead, you're more experienced on grants, right?
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, you should get out your pen and paper, Bruce, and have a crack at it.
I did.
You know?
Here it is.
So,
12 pages. I've read it twice.
that's good.
And some of those questions are just ridiculous. I could see myself on the phone with Vermont Arts Council about 3 or 4 times a day. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? Because that's probably typical for a grant, I would imagine.
I think what I would like to encourage is some use of the building and grounds this summer and getting people motivated, maybe increasing the
More than just 5 people.
on a committee, yeah.
I would suggest sending out a mailer with a questionnaire on it. Would you be willing to?
Well, that would be something that the committee should work on. Not the select
Yeah, that's a
board.
committee
That's a
project.
committee project. But
Okay.
mailing is good.
Mailings, emails, door to door, there's a whole plethora. Again,
We may be able to, and I'm just gonna throw this out there, Samara, because
Yeah.
you know the ramifications of it. Maybe in our tax bill, this next, we might be able to.
July.
Again.
It'll
do
go up by
something.
July 15th.
All right, we did that.
The only thing I didn't want to set a precedent.
We might have 2 tax bills this year, depending.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
Legislation fall up.
But, I just didn't want to set a precedent because once you start doing that, then you're gonna do one, you gotta do for the other. But like I say, I just throw it out there and let you make it,
Sure, why not?
thinking about that.
I can stuff things in envelopes. Last year, we were
did
so efficient. My God, we got it done really fast.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah.
I came
Okay.
in to help and you said, no, it's done, huh?
I know. It was Marie, our secret weapon, Marie Tatterson.
Wow.
She's amazing.
That's why those panels are over there behind the school, because it's.
So maybe if you can come up with some sort of verbiage for the billing, which will go out, the middle of June?
June, you said, or July?
July, I'm sorry, yeah, it goes out the middle of July.
All right, well, I'm gonna get in touch with Leanne, talk to her about the June 2nd, suggest that we come up with some way to get more people involved, maybe mailing postage the July tax bill, I'll mention that to her. And if you wanted to hold any special meetings where the select board has to be warned then, because it's more than 3 people, if they wanted to have a meeting to inform us what's going on.
By then, you would have had your June neighborly thing. You might have some more information at that point to add to
We'll be
it.
having a meeting in July though. so.
Nothing's gonna go about it unless we get more people interested in it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's the,
Other than looking at it going down the street, oh, it looks nice.
no, that's the success right there, having more people involved.
One thing that I think I can do pretty, it would actually be fun for me. Because this is the one thing I keep saying, okay, I'm no longer treasurer, then I'll get on this committee. I say this to myself because I can't do it all.
Perfect, I understand.
But I do find this kind of stuff like meeting people and getting them interested and involved, and I'm such a blabbermouth, I talk to anybody, so there you go.
Samara the recruiter.
But
I love it.
one of the first things that happened when I moved to Brookline was someone collared me and said, come be on the historic Brookline, it wasn't called, they had just moved from being the Ladies Benevolent Society to the Historic Brookline Preservation Church Committee.
Is that with the stand on it?
That was with Judy Akampora, was running it, Pat Ballou
Yeah.
was one of the heads. And so those archives, I mean, they did there were lots of events. And so when you're going for like an arts council grant, for example,
You need that.
we need the history of the things that happened before the town owned it.
That's in there.
So I mean, we did the Christmas
Yeah.
Carol, we did like,
Yeah, the quilt, they did the quilt.
they did a quilt thing,
Yeah. They were pretty active there, quite honestly, and they raised,
they had
they turned over $35,000 to the town.
the Sunflower Festival, which unfortunately got nixed by Irene. Its final year, it was canceled by Irene. But, I'll try and put down my notes on that to share with committee members or the
Thanks, I
select board.
appreciate that, that would be great.
And I need to go talk to Judy Akampora anyway, because she has
She's still in Brattleboro?
yeah. So that'll be fun for me. I need an excuse to go take her out for coffee.
Good lady.
All right, well,
She'd
thank you
like-
very much.
She'd like to see concerts in the building.
Special leave.
You're still listening.
All right, we're going to then go into payroll, accounts payable and payroll, passing around the payroll, and I'm going to sign off on this and then pass this.
Yeah, there'll be a lot more to do. Alrighty. I'm going to
Yeah, it's just like a-
hopefully,
Thanks for staying.
hopefully Paul has quit.
Did you want to know, I think Bruce wanted to know how much money we had in the education, Sunny Lane daycare.
I guess it was,
Oh, you know
About,
what? The bank recs aren't done, but I should have pretty close to the end.
just so you have an idea.
Let me go turn on my computer.
It's 39.
you know, I don't have the key anymore.
$33.
You do have keys, we gave them back to you, right there's an envelope with them.
No, you didn't need that Sunny Lane one.
That's because you weren't
Yeah,
good.
I'll be emailing, I
You didn't bring any
always
ring
get
dings.
financials before the second meeting.
It's okay.
Because it takes a little
There's no
while.
terror.
But
no terror.
I'll give you what I've got now.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept payroll warrant 2018-39 dated 4/4/2018 in the amount of $2,033.30. May I have a second?
Whatever.
Second by Dave. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting payroll warrant 2018-39 in the amount of $2,033.30 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, payroll is done. And the accounts payable will be coming up in a minute.
Who seconded?
I did it, Johnson. You notice that recycling was pretty high, 4 of them.
Yep.
And
Let's fold it in. People put cardboard behind.
That'd be interesting to see what happens on June 2nd. You know, it's so hard, every town's going through it, Bruce, it's not just us.
and they put a whole huge box of cardboard behind it.
All right. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to accept accounts payable warrant 2018-38 dated 4/4/2018 in the amount of $5,374.70. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by David, Chris.
Looks like it.
Any discussion? I didn't look up, I just read it. All those in favor of accepting accounts payable 2018-38 in the amount of $5,374.70 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This has passed.
7 years.
All right, setting the agenda for Wednesday, April 18th. We will vote to approve the updated LEOP for 2018 that I'm sending out. I didn't know if you wanted to put any policy relevant on it, or is it too early? We talked about doing some policies, lobbying policies, social media policy. You don't have to.
I haven't done anything.
Okay, well, okay. So the LEOP, we'll talk about the municipal project manager and the information guide we'll get from Wyndham Regional Commission. I will hopefully have the Historic Society here, and we will meet earlier to take a look at the trees around the round schoolhouse.
And you're gonna talk to Leanne and see what she says about the church and the
June 2nd event. Okay, and have more information on that, that would be great. All right, so
We're gonna
were you-
open bids.
Oh, on open bids at 7 PM for the Sunny Lane Daycare Carpentry Project. I can type that up tonight. Okay? Anything else? I'll get this out of the draft out earlier than I did this time. And
So we weren't inviting the we weren't inviting the
Historical.
Historical Society, yeah.
That, because that's pretty full for next week, right?
Correct.
I mean,
We're gonna ask the historical people to come in to talk about the trees and using that $500 for that.
Yeah.
And getting on the
so the meeting house will be different,
Correct.
other time.
Another time. All right, and anything else, we can always add to it up to that Monday before the meeting. So I will, we have 15 minutes to go.
What all do we have on the?
Setting agenda
Yeah, I like,
Maybe,
I gotta go home and light the candles before the wind blows out the, you hear that wind?
That's what we'll do.
Well, they said there's a high wind advisory for tonight,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
especially in the area of Hill Road.
Yeah, it's like it was Christmas Day.
Yeah, right.
The tree's still, it's all still laying on the ground.
Neighbor Day, we'll discuss.
I said, do you want me to cut it up and throw it in my fire, or are you gonna take care of it?
To your point
We'll
of
be
the
back in the spring.
policies,
We'll see.
I think it'd be good if we had a discussion about what our process is going to be on revising our dog ordinance.
That should be the first one done.
It's different, policy and ordinance are two different things.
Right.
An
Like a revision or
So policy is very, you know.
Right, that's fine, but I'm saying we know from our discussions that we need to change our dog ordinance.
So you want to do
So I think,
ordinance?
well, I'm just saying, no, I'm saying I think we need to have a discussion about what our process is going to be to do that. Are we going to engage, we talked about, are we going to engage VLCT, or the attorney had offered to
write a letter.
write a letter that we could send to VLCT to try to pressure them. I know that Nancy has also had some thoughts about trying to get the state to do something about this.
We should revisit it.
I think it's something, I don't want us to lose track of it, because it's,
Okay, so I'll put on there.
while it's still kind of, the inadequacies are fresh.
Ordinance revision, review,
Discussion.
Yeah,
discussion.
yeah.
The gun is still there,
I
eh?
think it's maybe just for us to talk through
Literally.
forming a plan of how we might go about it. It's
You
all-
sign gun ordinance, the
That's
gun law? It
Gotcha.
comes to his head.
Okay, anything else? If I don't word it correctly, don't hesitate to let me know. All right, so I will, make a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, and
Second
on the
it.
floor, seconded by Bruce, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
You'll never.
Adjourned at 9:47 PM.
8.